Hello and welcome to the Where Nations Rise podcast. Woohoo! My name is Flo. I'm joined with Davina and Shanti. And Davina, do you want to take us away, explain what we're all about?
I don't really remember the first time I heard about climate change. I must have been so young. Like, it's just been a thing I've grown up with, thinking about. But I spent some of my teenage years growing up in Malawi and Zambia in Africa, and it was great. And then I moved back in 2017, and then a couple of years later there was this massive cyclone Idai, that hit Malawi and a couple of other countries. And I think that was when I fully understood, oh wait, this is going to be devastating for some people, because so many people died, so many people were displaced. It was really close to home for me, but I was here and feeling sort of powerless to do anything. But yeah, I think that was when I understood that actually this is also affecting the most vulnerable people in our societies, and that's not fair. And it's not fair that I can be comfortable in watching this through a screen while other people's lives are being turned upside down.
Looking at how Jesus was in the Bible, I really think that he would have cared about climate change, just because how loving he was to so many different people who are oppressed and in poverty and who society wouldn't treat very well. And I think that kind of just lines up with the climate crisis and how the people who are being most affected are people in poverty and people who are oppressed.
I've had quite a difficult relationship with my faith for quite a while, but I think one of the things that I really value in the way I approach faith is that I think it's really important to look at what the Bible says for yourself. So rather than just being oh yeah, these are the stories we know, just actually looking at, okay, what's this about? I realised actually this book says a lot about justice, and I don't think that's highlighted as much as it could be in a lot of religious spaces. The Bible has so much to say about the issue of climate injustice. If you think about it, you have to look at, okay, who are the vulnerable in our society right now? And it's those people who are going to be most affected by the climate crisis.
COP was interesting. Before it started, I was really excited for it. And then as it started and as it carried on going, I just got more and more pessimistic about what was going to come out of it. I really loved meeting everyone, especially the people on the campaign that we're working on. We'd never met in person before, so it was really nice to meet all of them and just see how many people really cared about the climate crisis. On the Global Day of Action on the Saturday, they were expecting 60,000 people, and then in the end I think there was about 150,000.
And we met some people we really look up to while we were at the march. So Michaela Loach, who's a climate activist who we all follow on Instagram, actually has her own podcast called the Yikes Podcast, which sort of, I think, has influenced us quite a bit. And then also Climate in Colour. Well, her Instagram handles Climate in Colour, but her name's Jocelyn Longdon, I think. And she's also a climate educator. It was just really cool for them to be there in the same place as us. We're all here for the same thing. It gave me a lot of hope, I think, because okay, all these people care just as much as I do about this thing. Because it can be quite isolating, I think. But also I had a lot of other feelings about it because, well, I'm here and so are all these other people, but is anything actually going to happen? What is the point of us being here if they're still, it's not going to force them to listen to us, So one of the things that was also really frustrating about being there is that all the people who cared seemed to be on the outside of the places where the decisions were being made. But I'm glad I got to go. Yeah, it's an experience that I really value having. Project Climate Finance is a campaign I'm part of working on. It's been put together by Christian Aid, which is basically a scheme where a bunch of 18 to 30-year-olds talk about theology and activism, specifically through the lens of climate. And it's basically asking the UK government to make their commitment to providing financial support to, those more vulnerable countries, to make the pledges they've made legally binding. So in a lot of the climate agreements, it's the Paris Agreement, richer countries have said, oh yeah, we're going to give money to more vulnerable countries to help them mitigate and adapt, which basically means reduce the effects of climate change. They've said that they were going to give vulnerable countries $100 billion a year, and that money hasn't shown up. And obviously that's really bad because these vulnerable countries need to be able to plan projects so that they can, survive the climate crisis. Our campaign is asking the UK government and hopefully other governments to follow suit and make that legally binding so that if they don't provide this money, then there are consequences for that, and that hopefully that would mean that there's a more consistent and reliable source of finance for these more vulnerable countries.